just your average everyday trucker, keeping it real. I'm your host, Chris Blodgett, and you're listening to Real Talk Tuesday. This week's topic is going to be the importance of rest. This is episode 166. Hey guys, welcome back. As always, appreciate you being here. The inspiration for this week's topic comes from basically the last couple days. Friday night, technically, and then tonight. And I know you guys are listening to this on a Tuesday. Well, that's when it comes out, but you might be listening to it later. But so technically coming out on Tuesday, but at the time of this recording, it's Saturday night for me. Those of you who listened to the last Real Talk Tuesday episode, as I mentioned in there, it was kind of like I technically was a little bit behind on the posting on the episodes that week, and instead of just waiting until the next week to go ahead and post them, I thought, well, I'll go ahead and post them, and I'll just obviously list, you list the correct date, so it shows that it posted on Tuesday night, but, if you're a dedicated follower of the Blodgett Show, obviously you know that it only recently popped up for you, so apologies about that. But so I got those posted, and then I had figured on getting the next one recorded, so that way I could get because I've already got the some of the raw chat recordings, so technically I can get those done. So I'm trying to now that I'm current, I'm trying to work ahead a little bit so that way I can have them edited and scheduled, so they will post on time. I'm a little bit better tonight than I was last night, of course. Last night it was pretty rough. Like I mentioned in the last, I might have mentioned, I don't remember honestly. I might have mentioned in the last episode that, or the last Real Talk, that I tried to go to bed Friday night or Friday afternoon at like 3:30, and I don't think I fell asleep until like 7:30. But one thing I have noticed, even if you can't, like, during times when I've been unable to sleep, if you're at least in bed, if you're laying down for the whole time, then technically it's like you're still kind of resting a little bit. So laying down will actually, it'll still help out a little bit, Only way that I know this is because we had a situation probably, a year and a half or so back, maybe 2 years. It was when I hadn't really been with WSI for doing that Illinois run for too long. I think I'd been doing that maybe like 6 months or a year, and we lost power at home. basically was like right at like 24 hours before we're getting paid, we had our power shut off, and of course I thought we had a little more time. I was planning to call it in and make that payment, but it happened like 24 hours before it happened, and actually I think it was less time than that. I think it was like it was on payday, but paychecks a lot of times don't hit until later in the day, so it's like power got shut off that day. Literally 2 hours after I tried to go to bed, and of course I used the CPAP, so I, of course, going to bed at like 8, being woken up at like 10:15 because of the power going out, and my mask suction cupping to my face, and like, whoa, because then you can't breathe, so you're taking off the mask, and I'm like, crap, we don't have power, it's hot, because we had the AC going, but of course we lose power, all of a sudden then the apartment started to warm up, and so I'm calling the electric company, trying to be like, is there anything we can do? Because I was like, I have to work later. I have to go to like 5. Or me and actually technically I was like, yeah, usually I was getting loaded by 5, and so, but thankfully I think that day they were actually gonna be, they were running late. So basically, it was like, all right, I can come in a little bit later. That's fine. I tried to lay down and sleep without my mask, which I really can't do. Got a severe case of sleep apnea. Like, I'll doze off or whatever, but I can't actually get to sleep and be in a deep sleep. It'll be like doze, wake up, because basically when you have sleep apnea, you kind of you stop breathing. So then of course you wake up from that because So I remember, yeah, that day was pretty rough anyway, because like my manager back then, he was bringing a truck down from I think up in like Wisconsin or something. So he'd flown up there and then drove a bobtail, or drove a day cab all the way down to Nashville. And he'd messaged me and basically was like, "Hey, can you meet me at the hub at like such and such at like 5? Like 5, I'm gonna have you ride with me in this truck. We're gonna go pick my car up, and then I'm gonna have you be in this one." And I was like, sure, But thankfully, it wasn't, because that truck had some alignment issues. So I'm glad I wasn't in that truck for my trip, because like I did drive it once, like for that Illinois run, and I noticed that like I couldn't even take one hand off the wheel to grab like my drink, like to take a sip of, because I'd take one hand off the wheel and I would have trouble keeping the truck going straight because it would just pull. I was like, oh, this sucks. So, but I was in my regular truck, and I had energy drinks, I had sweets like candy, like a candy bar, and some chips and whatnot. I brought a ton of shit with me, because anytime I'm really lacking sleep and I'm struggling, if I do end up working, that's how I do it. I'll have like the 5-hour energy, I'll have a couple energy drinks, sweets, snacks, whatever, and I'll make sure to be munching every 1 to 2 hours, grab something, So, but I actually brought I brought a pillow, my blanket, and my CPAP with me when I came to work that night too, just because I thought, well, I'm gonna try to work, and if I absolutely have to, I'll, that's why I figured I'd bring my CPAP, the pillow, and the blanket, so that way if I have to, I can pull over, I can go back, hook up my machine, crank the AC up, get under the blanket, with the blanket and the pillow, basically like take like maybe a half hour 30 minutes to an hour or so, or longest, probably like 1 to 2 hour nap, just to kind of get a nice little boost, But surprisingly, I made it to Illinois. I got swapped, heated up food, got back on the road, made it back to Nashville. I never had to stop. I managed to push through. And so that's kind of what I've been. Funny thing is I've had occasions though. Sorry for the pauses. I keep yawning. I'll catch up. I'll get up to that, eventually in this episode. But every so often I'll have a shift where I really don't call out unless I absolutely have to. Like, since I come in so late with my current job, I get loaded by 2 a.m. I've probably had 2 shifts in the past 2 months. Like, usually, I think it's been on a Saturday both times, where either I got back really late, so it was like mid-afternoon, and I wasn't going to get my tent back until like 1 o'clock. And I was like exhausted by that point, and it was like I messaged the boss and be like, hey, because that was basically, I think I mentioned the last Real Talk Tuesday was when we were trying to figure, because I was initially doing like a 6-day work week, and then that week I was going because the other contractor took over that full-time coffee bill run. So I was only doing Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and but I had started that. I came in on Sunday, and then Monday I found out, hey, they took over that run, so you're actually probably gonna go to like a 5-day week. I'm like, that's fine. I would almost prefer 2 days off, but I didn't mind doing the 6 days because it's an easy run and the paycheck was pretty awesome. 5 days is still really good too. 4 days, because of what I get paid, 4 days is still not bad. The paycheck is still up there where I'm like, okay, I can still work with that. Versus when you work like 4 days and you make like 500, it's like, man. So then like you pay what you can, but so I've had a few Saturdays where I had to reach out to the manager or whatever. And, like last week, same deal. Got tied up with stuff and kind of had to didn't get home until 8 o'clock at night. Technically, I was gonna have to wake up in like 4 hours to check in to see what they're gonna have me do. And I was like, I don't think I can do it. Like, I've been up for almost 24 hours. Messaged the boss, and he's like, yeah, that's fine. Don't worry about it. Like, I'll message Lionel, I'll talk to them. All right, cool. Appreciate you. Sorry. He goes, no worries. Like, I'd rather you be upfront with me and let me know, so that way we're not having you drive tired, because I don't want to have anything happen. I was like, yeah, that's kind of why I figured I'd message you too, because I don't want to have anything happen either, because I kind of like to keep the steady paycheck, and if I fall asleep at the wheel and go off the road, guess what? I'm retired at that point, probably. Or at least I'm not driving for a while, because I know it's not a career killer per se, but I believe it's like, if you roll a truck, I think it's like 2 years or something. You basically, you can't drive professionally or whatever, so it's like, crap. And I'm not an hourly person. Like, I'm not really a big fan of getting a regular job to clock in somewhere and stuff, be on my feet all day or whatever. Like, that's why I do what I do, because it's something I'm good at and pays pretty well, so I gotta do what I can to make sure I can keep doing it as long as I have to, So yeah, Friday night, I only got like maybe 4.5, 5 hours total of like actual like deep sleep, and I was in bed since like 3 o'clock that afternoon. I don't know what the deal was. I just couldn't get to sleep. Like, I'm laying there going, why can't I sleep? And then of course you're thinking about it, so then that makes it even harder to sleep. So, but I managed to push through. I got back. I got home this afternoon, and stopped and grabbed a quick trip pizza for the fam, and hung out with the wife for a brief minute. She's watching a show on Netflix, And then there's like one more episode left, and I was like, yeah, so I got up to go take a shower, go to bed. She's like, oh, you're not gonna watch the finale or whatever? I was like, I'd love to, but no, I gotta sleep. I was like, I only got 4 hours last night, technically. I'm surprised I didn't do a 5-hour energy when I was working. I just did my drinks, my Arnold Palmer that I make. I do half lemonade and half unsweet tea in my 52-ounce mug or whatever, and then my coffee, and then some snacks, obviously. So I was like, nope, I need sleep. So I got to bed probably by like 3:30. Set my alarm for 11:45. Figured that way I can check in by midnight and see what the plan is. And I remember my wife laying down briefly to come in. She came in to lay down with me after the episode was done. And either that or actually she came in pretty quick, so I think she might have watched the episode later. I don't think, because they're like half hour, 30 or 40. Well, I guess I took a shower, so by the time I lay down, she might have already watched the episode. What can I say? When you're de-stressing, standing underneath that hot water for a while is just relaxing. And then you're like, okay, I'm too relaxed. I need to finish this a little bit. I was like, I'm tired now because I'm in this hot water and it feels amazing, but I gotta finish this. We'll get under the covers and go to sleep. So I remember her coming in and laying down with me, and then later that night when I realized it was dark, I happened to roll over and I felt over at her side of the bed. I was like, oh, she's not here. She's not here anymore. Okay. Fell back asleep, and then she came back in later, a couple hours later, basically go to bed or whatever. And I looked at the time and realized it was because my alarm went off after she got in bed or whatever. So I took my mask off. I called line haul and talked to one of the line haul managers, whatever. Like, hey, Brad, just checking in with you. He's like, yeah, I do have a load. It's not gonna be ready until 2, so probably get here by 1:30. I said, yes, sir. Copy that. He's like, all right, see you then. So moved my alarm to 12:45. But then, you ever have those occasions where you want to stay in bed because you're so comfortable. You're tired. You want to just get that extra hour. But you have to get up and go to the bathroom, and it's like either you get up and go to the bathroom, or it's not gonna be a pleasant experience in bed because you can't hold it much longer. So it's like, crap, I gotta get up. So then you come out of the bathroom and you're like, well, now I'm up. So it's like, I guess I'm gonna get ready for work, shut my alarm off before it actually goes off or whatever. But I noticed when I got up, because I got 8-ish hours of sleep, I felt a hell of a lot different than the night before. I was still tired. I still wanted to be able to lay there, go back to bed, and catch maybe 3 or 4 more hours of sleep. But I felt actually like I could think, And so I get to work, and of course, when I'm got this load that I picked up from Wichita, and I get over to Love's to grab my coffee and grab food or whatever. And security there is like, hey man, how's it going? And I'm like, I actually feel freaking human tonight. He goes, oh, I bet. I was like joking around with him. I was like, bro, you have no idea. Last week I had one instance where I was getting my coffee. I said I was getting one of the creamers. I took the lid off the creamer and I poured the creamer in the trash. And I looked at him and I said, I just kind of face palmed and went, what the hell am I doing? And he starts laughing. He goes, oh man, I hear you, man. I've been there before too. I was like, yeah, that kind of sucked. It's like opening it up, basically dump it in the trash. So when you mean to actually pour the creamer into your coffee, and it's like, okay, yeah, I'm tired. I was like, that's why I'm grabbing coffee. But I am noticing, I'll just go, I just recently did a quick pit stop. Went into Quick Trip to hit the bathroom or whatever. And coming out, I was yawning my butt off. I'm like, holy crap. I was like, I'm tired. I'm not tired at the level where I'm dozing off, but I'm just tired where I'm one day where you didn't sleep very much. And the next day where you got enough sleep, but technically you need a little bit more because you're still kind of you're dragging from the night before or whatever. So that's why it's like rested versus unrested, or the importance of being rested with this week's topic. You know, because like there is such a thing as sleep debt, but I fully believe that when you don't get enough sleep one day, you can't necessarily catch up on sleep. I know people say, "Oh, I'm gonna sleep in. I'm gonna catch up on sleep." I mean, yeah, you might get extra sleep. You might feel amazing, but you're not catching up on it. You basically, when you didn't sleep that one day, you basically just lost it. So I've had days where I got up at like 10 p.m. or something the night before, and then I got off work by like noon, and then I had to do something, and ended up not going to bed till after midnight that night. And it was like a full 24 plus hours where I hadn't slept. And my buddy Dave Goldberg or whatever, I could probably refer to him as my co-host on the Raw Chat episode. When I told him about some of those, he's like, "Dude, that's not good for you, man. Like, God, that's not good." I'm like, "I know." I was like, "But bro, like, I'm not really something I can avoid. Like, you know, it's like it happens. Like, if I get tied up with something or whatever, it's like I'm just stuck there. It's not like I can say, hey, I need to go home and sleep." Like the 4th of July, that was one of the days where I had 24 hours technically. Got home by noon. The initial plan was I was going to run my wife over to the lake, to her mom's house, drop her off because she's going to be making like some goodies for the some snacks and food and whatnot for the 4th, because we're going to have some random family and friends coming over, and I was going to drop her off, and then I was going to come back to the house and basically crash for like 5 hours, and then get up and come back to the lake with me, my kiddos, and my grandkiddo. But when I got home, they were all like on the couch, basically ready to go. I was like, "Oh, everybody's going?" They're like, "Yeah, mom's making us." Oh, okay. So that's pretty much, I didn't think about it at the time, so I just kept my work shirt on, stayed in my boots, didn't change out at all, because I thought, okay, I'll run you guys over there and I'll come back. But then when we went to the lake, just to get to her mom's house, usually it's like straight across the dam, and then hang a left, and it's like a couple houses down. On the 4th of July, they close the dam, so you got to go the long way around the lake, which really sucks. Adds like 20. It's easily like takes 20 minutes just to get across around that lake and to get to her mom's house. And it's like, and then there's the traffic with all the golf carts driving around, the cars trying to get through. We finally made it there, and I was kind of worried halfway there, because I'm like, if I leave and come back, will I be able to find a place to park? And if I, leave and come back, like, will I have issues trying to navigate through the long part of the lake just so I can, make it back here? And I was like, as I was already tired as it was, and it was like, man, I don't know if I want to do this. Because I would have had to take the long way around the lake to get back out of the lake versus like just right across the dam and out the main gate. It's like, I don't want to go 20 minutes to get out and then another 40 minutes to get home to then drive an hour plus to get back here. So I kind of just opted just to stay, and I was like, fireworks are like 8 hours. I'll just try to deal with it. I had my sister-in-law Katie, shout out, even though I highly doubt she tunes into this podcast, but hey, she does. Shout out, Katie. Hey, how you doing? But she came up. I went out on the front steps, on the front porch of my mother-in-law's house. That was kind of sitting in this rocking chair. She's up high, so of course, like up there on the front porch, I can feel like a little bit of a breeze or whatever. So I'm just kind of like just sitting there enjoying it. I'm in the shade. I'm not in the hot sun, and nice and cool, somewhat cool. Not too bad. And Katie came up because they were down there at the dock swimming, and she come up and walked up the steps and basically like, oh my God, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. I was like, I'm tired of shit, but I'm still okay. I'm here. I was like, not much I could do about it. I was like, why don't you go lay down one of the rooms? He's like, because I don't have my CPAP. I was like, I can't take a nap here because, wouldn't it be any good to go and try to lay down? Like, technically, I could have tried to bring my CPAP, and I could have probably pulled something off. Like, she's got a spare room, that I could have probably locked the door and used the blanket that's in there and the pillow and set my CPAP up and try to sleep. But I was like, so there's that issue, and then there was I didn't want to be in my work boots the entire day, but of course, nothing I could do with that either. I mean, I could have taken off those and like the boots and the socks or whatever, walked around barefoot, but then it was like, yeah, but then I have to throw the shoes back on later on. So it's like, I was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna, because once the work boots come off, I don't want to put them back on again. So, and then I had the work shirt, so nice black FedEx work shirt, So I was like, yeah. It came a point when we were, like I was sitting out back with my kiddos, and the great kiddo was out there, and we're in the direct sun, so of course I was hot, but I was also sitting there, and I was like 5:30, 6 o'clock, and I'm thinking, we still have like 4 hours till fireworks. I was like, oh my god, I'm tired, like, I'm so tired, I feel like crap. And there's one thing that, like, hell, I mean, if there's one kind of torture that I think there's people that are, like war criminals, torturing people, whatever. It's like one way to torture somebody is basically just not let them sleep. Just keep them awake, like extremely long periods of time. Keep them awake for days at a time. Basically, like they're gonna be like, because it's like I watched this. My wife and I watched this movie. I think it was last week. Basically, these people signed up for these medical trials where they're gonna take these medication, and I think what they were taking these medications, they were supposed to help them stay awake. So then they were awake for several days, and they got to a point where like, where some of like a couple of them were dying, because like all of a sudden they just started like having seizures and they had blood coming out of their eyes and nose or whatever, and it's like, oh my god, and like, yeah, you can't, because they fell asleep briefly. Because it's like you're awake for a week, and then instead of staying awake and getting medical help or whatever, they basically ended up letting themselves fall asleep, and then their brain just went into shutdown mode pretty much. So like at the end of the movie, I think one of the people finally makes it out, because like something happens, the place gets locked down, all the participants get stuck in there, and they're just trying to survive the 24-hour lockdown, and like 2 of them die in the process. And then of course by the end of it, the rest of them except one basically die. One of them manages to get out, and she ends up in the hospital in like a drug-induced coma, because of course like they're just trying to like put her in a coma so she doesn't die and let her heal. It's like, but I think the longest I've been awake is probably, I think it was like 28 hours once, because I think I woke up at like 7 one day, and then went to work that night, got held over. It wasn't going to be about, it ended up being, so I got held up a couple places. It was going to be like 24 hours, but then, actually it was probably longer than that, because I got stuck at a way station, literally like an hour away from Nashville. And there was an issue with the truck, and I was trying to make it back, because I knew there was an issue with the truck. I realized it partway through my shift. There was like, I was here to a rapid air leak whenever I was applying the brake. And as long as I, whenever I stopped, I would stop and set the brake, and it would air up the tanks again. But if you had to sit there with your foot on the brake for an extended period of time, after a couple minutes, you'd be losing enough air that your pressure would be getting down there where you'd have a warning light, the buzzer, or whatever. But there's nothing I could do about it. I was like, I'm just like, I told my boss, and he's like, yeah, just get back to Nashville and we'll take care of it. I'm like, all right. But then, of course, I got pulled into a way station, and I was worried at that point, because, they motion you on the scale, and I'm sitting there at on the scale right next to the intercom, and the trooper scale pulls up beside me in his car, gets out, and walks over to my where my airlines and stuff are, and comes up and basically says the motions for me to go over to the garage. I'm like, yeah, I figured. I was like, I'm screwed. Does a full inspection, realizes that not only, because I apparently had a small leak on one of my airlines, which I knew about that too. Like that one, I think I rubbed against something. And so during that shift, I realized I started leaking through one of those airlines. But I also had something leaking, like, up near one of the steer tires, but it only did it when you applied the brake. So it's like I couldn't check it by myself to see what was leaking. Because you apply the brake, you'd hear the air leak, you set the brakes, and you get out, there's no more air leak, so you couldn't tell where it was coming from. But he found it, and then he showed me what it was. I was like, oh, okay. I was like, I couldn't see that without you pointing it out because it's behind stuff. You know, I'd had to get up under there and be like, oh, crap. Yeah, that makes sense. So, I actually, I ended up, he had me park. This is at like 8:30, 8:45, 9 o'clock in the morning when I'm like an hour away. I had probably about, I think I still had like 3 hours on my 14 left. And I was like, man, got 3 hours on my 14. I need to get back. And of course, like by the time I'm in the truck with no CPAP, no way to I can't lay down and take a nap while I'm waiting. Been up for quite a while at this point. And I'm told, oh yeah, they're working on the tow truck guy. They're getting him dispatched, whatever. I'm like, I told my boss, I was like, I have 45 minutes left on my 14 now. I was like, I don't have enough time to get back to Nashville. What am I gonna do? Like, am I gonna stay here for 10 hours, and then he's like, no. Whenever they get you fixed, I'm just gonna have you run up there. I'm like, okay. I think he made it back. I think he made it down there like 2 o'clock that afternoon. So I was negative a couple hours on my 14. So I was just like, all right, you got me fixed. I was legal, even though it's funny, the cop left like probably 2 hours before the mechanic or the mechanic got there. And basically he just told me, hey, when they get you fixed, go ahead, roll out. I'm like, yes, sir. And I thought about it, I was like, I could have technically left and got back to Nashville, but I didn't want to risk it. I could get pulled over again or something, and basically checks you again. It's like, why are you still leaking? I thought I told you to wait until you got fixed. Like, oh, I really? Like, I'm sorry. I was like, no, I'm not taking that chance. So I stayed there. I think I finally walked in the door, because that was a Sunday too. It was supposed to be off that day. Walked in the door like 4:30 that afternoon, that evening or whatever, 5 o'clock. My daughter looks at me and, Dad, it's freaking 5 o'clock. Like you left yesterday, like at this time, it's been like a day and a half practically. I was like, I know. I was like, I got stuck at a way station. I had to wait for a repair guy to come out there. I was like, I'm going to bed. I was like, I'm tired. So, but you go from where you can function because you're used to it, but you're dead ass tired, or dead on your feet, can't think straight, can't really talk straight, but because I've been doing what I do for so long, like I don't really doze off. And I think the fact that I'm working while I'm sitting, driving, whatever, it makes things a little bit different. But if I had to do this and then be on my feet, I couldn't do it. Because I'd probably trip and fall or whatever. Like my wife has to go to work by like 6:30. It's a 45-minute drive for her, and she'll actually go to bed at like 11:30 or midnight, wake up at like 5, and then I'll come home and she'll be passed out on the couch or whatever. And I'm like, you could go to bed a little bit earlier. Because lately it's like I get home and I'm probably not going to get up till like 11:30 midnight myself, unless I'm going in by like 1:30. If I get home late enough and I know I don't have to be there till 1:30, I might set my alarm at like 12:30 and say, screw it, I'm not getting up. I was like, if I go to bed early enough, then maybe I can get up somewhat early, and actually come out if people are still awake and hanging out. I can come out and hang out, whatever. But usually, if anything, it's just my wife out there. So like, I'll try to get up and come hang out if I can. But otherwise, I'm like, I need sleep. Like I'm tired, so I'm just gonna set my alarm and I'll see you guys later. gotta keep rested so I can keep coming out here doing what I do and keep paying the bills and working on the future. But that's why it's interesting. On a day, you have a day where you don't sleep very well and you'll have trouble like thinking straight. But then or talking straight. Like somebody will. I think I've had one of the raw chats that are coming up. I think I did a raw chat with Dave on a day where I really hadn't been that well rested. So like I noticed when like I'm going down the road, I'm focused, I'm managing okay. But going down the road or whatever, and of course he calls and we do a raw chat episode or whatever, and like I immediately at the beginning of that call I noticed that like I'm having to think a little bit more when trying to form the words and try to actually talk to him, because you're trying to talk and you stutter a little bit, you might bite your tongue. It's like so I was like, oh man. So versus like you get a day that you're rested and you actually feel like you're bright-eyed. I guess that's where the term bright-eyed and bushy-tailed comes from, because like you're like, I'm here, yeah, this is awesome. Other days you're like, oh my god, hey, how's it going? Oh, I'm good. I'm good. Ah, crap, my tongue. So it's like you gotta do what you can to try to at least get what rest you can, even if like there's times where I'm like, I need to get something. Like I can't get up and do what I gotta do on no sleep. That's why when I had like 4 hours and I think it was in a REM deep sleep the entire time, because I remember I was awake 1 minute and I started doing breathing exercises and stuff, trying to mentally wear myself down and get myself to pass out. And the next minute I was being woken by my alarm 4.5 hours later, and it's like, oh, hey, I actually slept. What are you doing? But versus like you only doze off a little bit, so when your alarm goes off, you're like, I don't feel like I slept. My wife, I think she pays too much attention to her watch, I think, because like her watch will tell her, she'll be like, I only slept 2 hours. Like she'll go to bed like 8 hours before, she'll go to bed like 10 o'clock and have to get up at like 6 or whatever, and then she'll be like, I only slept 2 hours. And I think it's based on her what her watch says. And I'm like, yeah, I was like, because if you're only getting 2 hours of sleep, I don't think you would have made it through the day. I'm pretty sure you got more than that. It's just that if your watch, because it kind of pays attention to like if you move, like if you turn over and whatnot, it might not count that as your sleep. So it might be like, oh, she's awake, and then it waits till you're not moving for a while again, and then it counts that time as sleep, and then you move again, like to roll over. So I've had times where like I actually felt like I got like 8 hours of sleep, but instead I got like 4 or 5, and I'm like, I don't feel like I got 4 or 5. I feel like I got pretty good. So, but gotta do what we gotta do. Just gotta do the best you can. Some days there's always gonna be days that are better than others. You guys could probably pick up on some of the things I'm saying during this episode. I have to like stop and say it again, because I go to say it and I get a little tied up, and it's like, all right, slow it down. It's like, oh, man. So yeah, my brother from another mother, Rico, trying to get him on one of these episodes for a real talk where we could, it's funny, like he talked about, because I was like, hey, if you ever want to do it, like I've got the Google Voice number that I use for the raw chat episodes. I was like, I would totally love to get on a call with you someday and just randomly record a call. It would make for a good real talk, whatever. He was like, bro, like, I was like, I think it was like 8 a.m. He was, hey bro, tonight if you wanna call me, with your Google Voice number, we can do that interview or whatever. And I was like, well, bro, I don't go in until like 1:30 or 2 in the morning. I was like, you're 1 hour later, so it would have to be probably when you wake up. He was, oh, okay. And I was like, plus not necessarily an interview, we just like keep it real, like just a real talk conversation. He's like, well, yeah, but like it would be the first time you having me on, and so probably an interview would just get to know me a little better would be pretty good. I'm like, yeah, I hear you. So I was like, but I don't know. The only way for me to record is for him to call me. That's the way it's set. Like I can set it up where I can call and record somebody, but I have it's like it's almost like you gotta set up. It's like almost like a business account. I gotta set up like studio or something, and then technically I can. It's like a work account kind of. Like then I can call somebody with that, and I can actually hit record with me dialing them. But right now it's like they have to call me, and then I have the option to, record the live call, or whatever. And it notifies everybody. Anybody that's if you're tuned in and you catch those raw chat, you hear this call is being recorded. Before we're like, yo. But yeah, if you haven't caught the last raw chat episode, you should really check it out. We have like I think there's like 5 or 6 of us on the same call, and very, very active raw chat phone call. A lot of stuff being discussed. A lot of my favorite on there is actually when this guy that Dave knows called John. I guess he's retiring soon. He keeps talking about like he has 16 more days in a wake up. So I'm like, oh, congratulations. I guess he's been doing it for like 40 years. That means I only got to go another 27, 26 years if I'm gonna do as much as him. Cause I've been at it like 14, I think. So I don't foresee that I'm gonna be driving that much longer. Maybe a couple years longer. Because I'm obviously like I've told you guys, like I've got the Bit Harvest, the mining app, or the mining platform that I've got some units and some shares on there, so I'm growing that to the point where I'm making enough to make things possible. And of course got the book projects. Eventually we'll have some books published and whatnot, so like my goal, I'll continue to work, and eventually I'd like to figure out how to monetize this platform. So eventually I'll have multiple streams coming in, and hopefully that'll make it possible for me to hang up the keys, and basically just only the truck I drive be my personal truck, my good old Silverado. Never thought I'd actually be, I always thought because I'm still a Ram guy. I love Rams, probably my favorite truck, but I'm pretty happy with what I'm in now. It's a lot fancier, a lot more bells and whistles. I mean, it's like, damn, this is a nice truck. It's like, I love it. That's why they, got to be willing to walk away from those toxic situations. Like I said in the last episode, I love my vehicle, but then when you're like a week or two late, you're getting majorly harassed by the lender, and they're threatening to repo you and stuff. I loved sending that email to them saying, please be advised, I no longer have possession of that vehicle. It's been traded in. You will be getting a check from the dealership paying off that loan. Please cease all further communication. I have not heard anything since. And I'm like, thank God. Because like, stuff like that's like, I'm trying to think of, it's like I almost know what I want to say, but I try to figure out how to say it, like how to word it. But you figure, you're working with somebody becomes a customer because you give them a title loan on their vehicle. And most vehicle loans that I know of, especially through traditional lenders, like, hell, I've even had title loans that, like, you're not getting harassed, like, if you're a couple weeks late. Now, if you're like 2 months, then obviously they'll be like, hey, we really need to get something in the next couple weeks, because otherwise after 3 months, it goes for repossession review, and I'm like, I hear you. This one was like 2.5, 3 weeks, and they're like, yeah, it's being reviewed for repo tomorrow, and I'm like, I made an arrangement with you to get you paid. I don't understand why you're threatening me for repo. Like, this is like, I've only barely been a customer for a month. Well, unfortunately, sir, like, blah, blah, blah. Okay, well. So that right there was already telling me, okay, I got to figure something out, because if I don't do something now, I'm just going to lose the truck, even though I'm working on making a payment to him. So it's like, I went to that dealership and it was like, oh wow, you guys, they did it. They got me in something else. They, we traded in that truck. So I was like, all right. Had it for 5 years, loved it. Didn't really want to see it go, but at the same time, it's like I've already noticed a difference this past couple days at least, where I'm still stressed about certain things, but I'm not stressed as much about the vehicles, because at least like my wife's in something that's safe and secure, and I'm in something that's really good, and I'm not having to deal with that predatory lender anymore. Now I'm in a traditional auto loan with a regular bank, so it's like, but yeah, fun times. So, but with the topic at hand, just gotta make sure that you do. Hold on 1 second. Had to pause for a brief second because I was like, crap, got a sneeze coming on. Oh man. So, on that note, we'll go ahead and close this out. But as always, guys, you know what I always say, like, keep pushing forward, keep believing. Believe you can, believe you will, and you're already halfway there. And then you just have to go out there and do it. The link for it will be in the show notes as always. But anybody, if you're looking for something passive where you don't have to recruit, you literally can just get a share here, share there, get a full unit here, full unit there, and then they do the mining. Like, they set it up and it does the work for you. Like, you don't have to actually go there and do the work. All you do is you just keep checking your balance, see where you're at, and you can compound it, use the balance that you made every day towards future shares and future units, and let it grow that way until you are making enough to where you're like, all right, I'm happy with this. But that link will be in the show notes, of course, or you can go to passive Bitcoin, the number 2, the number 4, the number 7.com, passivebitcoin247.com, and check it out. It's got some videos on there that kind of explains everything. It shows you what it's all about. Really easy platform. Like, I have not, aside from me getting the different shares, I have one full unit, a couple of small shares. Aside from doing that, I just log in and check it every so often to see where I'm at. I've used my earnings at least once so far to get another share. So it's like, it's pretty cool. Nice way to basically just sit back and let it work and get paid pretty much. So check it out, passivebitcoin247.com. Aside from that, I hope everybody has had a great week so far. I hope you have a great rest of your week. But obviously, as always, guys, stay tuned, because coming up next will be this week's Raw Chat episode. All that I would ask is, I don't have a support link up there. Anybody who wants to support the show, I would just ask for you to like and follow, tell your friends. We'll have the podcast growing that way and stuff. Because hey, I'll take it. Someday I'll monetize it, figure out how to get advertisements on here, and start actually making money with it. Because I know there's people that do podcasts, and they do that full time, and that's all they do, because they make enough with their podcasts. And I'm like, yeah, I would love that, but I have no idea. Being that I've been kind of doing this on my own, I have not had any help or whatever, as far as like, hey, this is what you do. Like, this is what you do. You should go this route. You should contact this sponsor. Blah blah blah. The very first time I get something on here, and I get those first couple of small paychecks from like sponsors or advertisements or whatever, I'm gonna be like, holy crap, it works. So if anybody has any suggestions about that, if you're experienced in that, and like you have advice on how to start doing that, feel free to send me a message. LaunchAShowPodcast@gmail.com. But on that note, you guys have a great rest of your day, a great rest of your week. Enjoy the Raw Chat episode, and I will see you next week on the next Real Talk Tuesday. On that note, you guys have a good one, and we will talk to you then. Have a good one.